Essays in drama can be confusing because they require you to be a lot more personal than other subjects. Thankfully, there is a structure you can use to make sure you're staying on the right track. After hours practicing for subjects like English, geography, and history that really need you to be detached and academic when writing essays, it can be quite jarring to start writing these highly personal essays in drama. It's a very delicate balance between your own creativity and being a little bit too casual. You also need to make sure you have enough analytical content in there. I've put together a structure for a drama essay you can use to make sure you are getting it right. As always, you cannot memorize whole essays, but you can use this video in conjunction with an essay scaffold to make sure you are never caught off guard by any question. And I will link to an essay scaffold video so you can see how to kind of create one of these choose your own adventure type essays. In terms of drama essays, this structure should work for both your core topic, Australian drama and theatre, and then your elective, so whatever that elective is under studies of drama and theatre. I'll be referencing 2 example essays throughout this video and I will link to them down below. Firstly, let's look at the introduction. In terms of thesis statements, drama questions are usually so specific you can't have that much of a pre-prepared thesis statement in mind. I usually teach having a adaptable thesis idea or a couple adaptable thesis ideas, but it doesn't actually work that well in this subject. Luckily, the evidence and examples that you can use in the body of the essay usually apply well to all questions. Let's have a look at 2 different thesis statements in response to 2 different questions. Okay, so first one, here we have the question, how are audiences made to engage with and understand Australia's cultural issues through the personal concerns of characters on stage? In your answer, refer to your study and experience of 2 texts set for the topic. So here is the thesis statement in response to this question. Australian drama and theatre employ the stage to engage audiences with the intimate concerns of characters and thus give insight into overarching cultural issues. And another example, so this one is for the elective. Female playwrights have a different vision of human experience. Compare 2 plays you have studied and how they give life to their distinctive theatrical experience. So the thesis statement, within an era of rising feminism, there is an overgeneralization that females have similar struggles. However, through the comparative study of female playwrights Clary Churchill and Lee Purcell, a rich variation of the female experience is evident in their distinctive theatrical expression. So that one was for my elective on the voice of women in theatre. In your elective, you can have more of a pre-prepared idea than in the core, but still, drama requires you to rely heavily on the question. If you need more help making sure your thesis statements really answer the question, I have a video that focuses on that and I will link to that one. Next, introduce your texts. Make sure you introduce it fully, so that's name, author, year it was written, and also the type of drama it is. I'll give you an example of how to really thoroughly introduce a text. So we have Jane Harrison's episodic drama Stolen 1998, or Lee Purcell and Scott Rankin's one-woman play Box the Pony 1997. As you introduce your texts, make sure you introduce the topics you're going to explore and the way your texts align or diverge from each other. Let's have a look at 2 examples of that. So, Jane Harrison's episodic drama Stolen 1998 engages audiences with the personal stories of 5 children to bring a greater understanding of Australia's First Nations stolen generations, particularly exploring dislocation from the land and the abuse suffered by Aboriginal people. Lally Klatz's Neighbourhood Watch 2011 uses its magic realism form to reveal personal relationships on Australia's multicultural suburban streets, giving insight into underlying cultural struggles with wartime experiences and mental illness. Let's see another example of introducing texts and ideas. Clary Churchill's all-female episodic drama Top Girls 1982 plays on stereotypical characterizations to offer a comprehensive critique of feminism during Thatcherism. Contrastingly, Lee Purcell and Scott Rankin's one-woman play Box the Pony, 1997, is a semi-autobiographical piece of theatre which offers a personal view of intersectional feminism from a First Nations Australian woman. End your introduction with a sentence that addresses the question and brings the two plays together. For example, both plays engage their audiences by utilising non-naturalistic performance styles that encourage a deeper understanding of cultural issues within Australian communities. Or in my second example, these distinctive theatrical expressions both engage audiences with authentic visions of female experience, reflective of the different voices of their playwrights. And that's the introduction done. Now we can move on to the body. I've experimented with a lot of different structures for drama, and I found the one that works best is having 2 paragraphs on one play and then 2 paragraphs on your next play. This allows you to dive deeply into the plays and their concepts rather than wasting any words, recapping scenes, switching back and forth, re-explaining concepts to the marker. I generally had 2 ideas for each play, so 4 paragraphs in an essay. Start your body paragraphs in the same way as an English essay, with a sub-thesis. Introduce your text, introduce your idea, and connect it to the question. So for example, Harrison's Stolen explores the dislocation from land and identity suffered by the stolen generations through the individual stories of her protagonists. And in my second example, in Top Girls, Churchill critiques the competitive nature of women in Thatcherist office culture, providing insight into her own experiences and perceptions as a woman in this era. And such criticism was highly evident in my peers' theatrical exploration of Act 2, Scene 3, where the lead character Marlene and her female colleagues have office conversation. If your paragraph, like that paragraph, is going to focus on a scene, feel free to reference it from the very beginning, so from the sub-thesis. As the second example hinted, this is where we get into the evidence part of the essay. This is the EE in the peel or the teal or the steel structure. It's the example and the explanation, the evidence and the explanation. Here is where it becomes more personal than other subjects. You're exploring your ideas through examples of personal experience-based learning. This can be your experience watching a professional version of the play, viewing a peer performance of the play, acting out the play or a scene from the play yourself. It can be a directorial concept about how someone would have put on the play, or a directorial concept about how you would have put on the play. It's really quite open. It just needs to be personal, experience-based, creative and well described. Let's have a look at 2 body paragraphs. So in my first example, as a class, we discussed this dislocation through a peer's directorial concept that featured a stage floor of red sand, symbolic of First Nations land, and specifically the land of the character Sandy, who explains, "My people are from the desert, home of the red sand." Throughout the play, particularly around the line-up and unspoken abuse scenes set in the Cranbrook Children's Home, the children would use prop brooms to progressively sweep the sand off stage, revealing a polished white floor. This sweeping away of the representation of land reveals the dark, dramatic irony evident in the lines, "Go back to the desert where you belong, you black bastard." As it was only under Australian protection and assimilation policies that the stolen generations were forced to leave their land. The sweeping away is also symbolic of how the children were forced to sweep away their connection to land and identity, leaving them dislocated in a white and clinical environment, thus confronting audiences visually and symbolically with the dislocated experience of these children and thousands of others like them. You'll see that key quotes are absolutely necessary in your explanation of experience-based learning. These quotes ground your idea in the text. At the end of the paragraph, you need to link back to your idea and the question, just like other subjects. Now let's have a look at the second example, our body paragraph, the evidence and explanation part of it. Their directorial concept featured an office set symbolically off an Olympic podium, reflecting the competition to be top girl. Marlene's desk was front stage centre, while slightly lower status Nell's desk was mid-stage right, and the lower status Wynn's desk was backstage left. This rivalry was palpable in Nell's statement, "I don't like coming second," in regards to Marlene's new promotion. Acting in cohesion with the symbolism of this set, the three women were physically checking over their shoulders to engage in dialogue, particularly effective in Nell and Wynn's passive-aggressive conversation behind Marlene's back. Nell: "There's not a lot of room upwards." Wynn: "Marlene's filled it up." This conversation within our symbolic set gave life to Churchill's presentation of the paradox of feminism during Thatcherism. As one woman breaks the glass ceiling, being restrictive gender norms, she blocks the way for the women behind her. Churchill overarchingly questioning if this individualistic competition was an obstacle to the collective empowerment of women. You can see how very specific ideas with quotes tied back to the question are the most effective way to go about it. For the rest of the essays with a few more examples of body paragraphs, check out the links below. Finally, the conclusion. This is the part most similar to other subjects. You just want to make sure you're addressing both texts, the ideas you explored, and the question. So, some examples. Both Harrison's Stolen and Klatz's Neighbourhood Watch are effective examples of Australian theatre which use the stage to engage audiences with cultural issues. Stolen, with its exploration of the disconnection and abuse suffered by the stolen generations, and Neighbourhood Watch, with its investigation into the effects of war and mental suffering on contemporary suburbia. Both pivotally use the personal stories of characters to give insight into greater Australian concerns. Or, conclusively, both Churchill's Top Girls and Purcell and Rankin's Box the Pony are skillful examples of the voice of women in theatre which give life to different playwrights' versions of experience. The comparative study of Top Girls, with its theatrical exploration of the dichotomy between the Thatcherist working woman and the traditional mother figure, and Box the Pony, with its authentic view into intersectional feminism, has truly shown a rich and distinctive theatrical expression of the female voice. That's the conclusion done. In terms of preparing for the essay, do not memorize an entire essay. Use a dot point scaffold with adjustable examples. Use that link if you don't know how to compose one, but that is the best way to prepare for essays in the HSC, a scaffold, not memorizing. As always, doing practice papers where you apply your essay scaffold to the question is the best way to make sure you're going to perform well in the exam. Now we've gone through the structure and a few examples, hopefully you are feeling more confident to write drama essays. Let me know if you have any other questions. Feel free to share some advice, and I hope this helped.